Good morning, Heresy fans, or good evening, Heresy fans, or good afternoon, Heresy fans. Welcome to my video about my Dark Angel army for the event at Warhammer World in July, in 2 weeks now. This is my Dark Angels Dreadwing force. I say Dreadwing force with an asterisk, as I'm not using the Dreadwing right. In an earlier video, I said that I told you I was going to this event. I go to a lot of events at Warhammer World, and told you that my plans were to create an army around this guy here, Marduk Cedrus, who is the eschaton of the Dark Angels of the 23rd Order, and he is a new model that is currently unreleased. I say unreleased, he is unreleased. He was released just at the Heresy open day. He's not gone on general release yet. I said that I wanted to do an army based around him. So here that army is. I've been working hard on this over the last month or so to get it ready. I've played a couple of games of 2.0 with it so far. I really like how it plays. It suits how I liked to play back in version 1. And I thought I'd just take you through what's in it, why I've made those particular choices. I'm using a new gadget that a friend's lent me. That allows me to pan and stuff, so if it suddenly jerks and moves around, that's because I'm not very good at using it. Ooh, like that, for example. So this is my army representing an element of the 23rd Order of the Dark Angels, 1st Legion. It has four troops choices, 3 elites choices and 1 heavy support choice, and makes use of the Fury of the Ancients Rite of War, which is a new Rite of War in version 2. There used to be a Fury of the Ancients Rite previously that was almost unusable, and this new one appears to be incredibly strong, although I'm doing the trademark applied for light version. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Warlord, and it is not Marduk Cedrus, it is this man here. This is my Warlord, which you have to have. It's the compulsory Warlord choice for the Fury of the Ancients Rite of War, and in my army it is this Venerable Ancient Contemptor. It's I think it's a 30 or 40 point upgrade on the Contemptor. And what that does is it gives it the Master of the Legion rule, which allows it to take the Rite of War and improves its invulnerable save by 1, so it goes up to a 4-up save instead of a 3-up save. I've had this painted for a while, and as it's the only one I've got in the of the Specialist Dark Angels, I think it makes a perfect addition. Interesting note, so if you're taking Fury of the Ancients Rite of War now, you cannot take a Primarch, because a Primarch must be the Lord of War. Must be the Warlord, and so does this guy. And in 2.0, you can't have 2 guys that insist on being the same Warlord, so not possible. So that's my HQ, and then I'll go on to my troops, which are compulsory troops, is Contemptors. So I have, this is actually 2 Talons, so the 2 guys with multi-melters and Gravis Fist at the back form 1 Talon, and the guy at the front with the Chain Fist and the Gravis Fist forms the 2nd Talon. So they form my 2 troops, and in that Rite of War they gain the line keyword, making them scoring. So these are 3 scoring Contemptors of the 23rd Order. They're all of the Dreadwing. I should have mentioned that the Dark Angels, the way their Legion rules work now, is that you pick one of the hexagrammaton rules. So there are 6 hexagrammaton rules: the Dreadwing, Deathwing, Ravenwing, Stormwing, Ironwing, and Firewing. And each unit in your army must be aligned to one of those. So these guys are Dreadwing. Now, in terms of Dreadnoughts, what that does is it makes them less susceptible to damage from Plasma, Volkite, and Phosphex weaponry. And anything with flesh, well, the Fleshbane and the Poisoned and Fleshbane rules there, they don't really apply. They work differently with Dreadnoughts anyway. So they are all members of the Deathwing, as you can see by their trying to use me features here. Dreadwing iconography. So the hourglass with the skulls in is the Dreadwing iconography. So where you see that, you know that unit is Dreadwing. So that's 1 troop choice, or 2 troop choices. The other troop choices are Tactical Squad number 1, or more accurately Tactical Squad 4 here, which are some of the oldest models I have in my collection. They are fully Mark II with torso upgrades, shoulder pads and head upgrades. And the reason why I only have 2 10-man tactical squads in my army is because I can't get Mark II anymore. And they are carried into battle in their trusty Rhino. I like mechanised infantry, so anything that can take a transport often does. So that's Rhino 1 with Tactical Squad 1. And then if we go across here, we have Tactical Squad 2 with Rhino number 2. So that's my troops choices, my scoring unit, so to speak. Then if we move on to the elites, we have in the centre this lovely unit of Inner Circle Knight Cenobium. So they kind of form the bodyguards for the units, but they're not like the Deathwing companions. These guys are warriors that are brought together for a specific purpose, so they all belong to a particular order. There is in fact an exemplary unit of these, and that is in fact what this unit are in the rules just released as a downloadable PDF off Warhammer Community's site. They're weapon skill 5 Terminators, weapon skill 6 for the guy in the centre. They're all armed with plasma burners, which is a strength 4 rending 6+ flamer, and tyrannic greatswords, which are +3 strength, AP 3, rending 5+, so they become AP 2 on a 5+, and murderous strike 5+, so they become instant death if you roll a 5+, and that's on the wound roll. And they're just a really, really nice set of models, and they were absolutely had to be in the army. My other elites choices are a squad of 10 Interemptors in a Land Raider, and another squad of 10 Interemptors in Land Raider. So these are the Dreadwing special units. They carry like plasma flame weapons as well, incinerators and burners, which are different to the ones that are mounted on the Inner Circle Knight Cenobium. These ones are strength 6 and they're breaching 4+, so they become AP 2 against infantry on a roll of a 4+ to wound. The incinerators have the same stats, but they have torrent, which means that they can place their template up to 9 inches away from the firing model. So they're a really, really cool unit. Very, very Dreadwing, very situational, potentially very scary, especially when mounted in a Land Raider, but I've never been able to use them before, and doing a 23rd Order Dreadwing centric list meant that I wanted 2 units of those in. So Unit 1 and Unit 2, and they're both in Land Raiders, as you can see here. So these Land Raiders, Land Raider is one of my favourite tanks of all time. I've always used them heavily, and these 2 here have served me well for a long time in my Dark Angels army. They are the normal plastic Land Raider with the upgrade parts from the Warhammer World command vehicles, and then I also put, you'll notice on all the vehicles at the back, they've all got the angel symbols on the side from the Raven Wing. So you can see it on the side of the Arcas there, the Land Raiders have got it the same. And then the Land Raider in the centre, which is my most recent Land Raider, is the dedicated transport for these guys. And that's a Mark IIB, which is the Forger Mark IIB with the standard las cannons on the side. That's because I did a conversion of a Land Raider for Custodes years ago, using Mark IIB from the side but not the inside, so I have the middle bit left over, so that's what I used to make their Land Raider. In rules, these are Land Raider Proteus carriers now, is what they're called. They do have, they used to be called Land Raider Phobos, which do have rules now, but the Proteus carriers do have rules but don't have models yet, and rules-wise are exactly the same. So I can't see that being a problem. So we've got the 3 Land Raiders there, and then finally, well, not finally, in our heavy support slot, which we're allowed, I've got Sakaran Arcus. And I've got the name right this time, James, because last time I talked about Sakarans, I used the wrong names for pretty much all of them. So the Sakaran Arcus is like the missile launcher version. This one's got las cannons and missile launchers, no missile upgrades, and you can see there it's also the a member of the Dreadwing. I'll go through the wings that everyone is as a recap on the video. So I really like the Sakaran as a tank. I'm really looking forward to the plastic ones that we know are coming. I've never used an Arcus before, so this is the perfect opportunity for me to have a go at it. And then finally, right at the front, obviously I started off with him. Marduk Cedrus is my other HQ choice. He's not my Warlord, but he will be joining those Inner Circle Knight Cenobium in the Land Raiders in the middle. So, don't really know what else to say about them other than just to explain a few changes. So, as you'll notice, there are now 6 Terminators in a Land Raider. If you played version 1, a Land Raider's transport capacity was 10, and Terminators take up 2 spots. They've increased the transport capacities on nearly all vehicles by at least 1 or 2 spots to allow you to take characters with units now. So Rhinos have a transport capacity of 12, Land Raiders have a transport capacity of 12 as well, which is obviously with a tactical squad, that could be a tactical squad, an apothecary and a character, with power armoured guys, but bulky guys, which these Terminators are, they take up 2 slots, so it's those 2 and a character. The idea behind the list really is that it's got this bulwark in the centre of 3 powerful tanks with quite powerful infantry inside that advance together. The Contemptors just generally make a nuisance of themselves. The the Rhinos with the tactical squads come up behind to hold objectives that they've passed, and then the Arcus just takes on targets of opportunity. But there are some few little tricks that I've figured out with the list over the first 2 games that are quite nice, and the first one of that is using the different Dark Angel wings to make things better. So the tactical squads that we've got there, they're all members of the Storm Wing, and the Storm Wing rule gives the tactical marines or anything with Storm Wing +1 to hit with bolters, combi bolters, and combi weapon bolters, essentially, bolters and combi bolters, which is brilliant on tactical squads because it means that they're hitting on 2s, and that carries over to the Rhino as well. So the Rhino's combi bolter also gets to hit on 2s. So that's the Storm Wing's ability. I should mention as well, dedicated transports have to have the same wing as the unit that they're transporting. So the Rhinos have to be Storm Wing because the tactical marines are Storm Wing. The Land Raiders have to be Dreadwing in this case because these guys are Dreadwing, and Deathwing in this case because these guys are Deathwing. I'll come on to that in a second. So Dreadwing, they're basically, they're used to being around really nasty weapons and things like that. So they get -1, your -1 strength or -1 to wound with plasma, Volkite, and Phosphex weaponry against them. So Phosphex normally I think wounds on a 3 or a 2 depending on what it's mounted on. So it's 1 worse against these guys. Plasmas would wound on 2s but wound on 3s. Volkite will often wound on 3s or 2s depending on which Volkite weapon it is, but that makes them quite hardy against those specific weapons. But again, it's quite situational. When applied to a vehicle though, that can have a really massive effect. I mean, obviously none of those weapons would normally worry a Land Raider, but if you put it on something like a smaller chassis such as a Sakaran, then being sort of -1 strength for those Predators is on Dreadnought, sorry, -1 strength against those is quite impressive. I apologise that hay fever is strong today. So the Inner Circle Knight Cenobium, they are going to be Deathwing, and Deathwing gives you +1 to hit with sword weapons. So these guys are weapon skill 5. They're normally going to be hitting on 3s if they're against weapon skill 4 guys or worse. With the +1, that'll make them hit on 2s, and if they're against other weapon skill 5 guys, they'll be hitting on 3s, and if they're against guys that are weapon skill 6 or Primarchs or things like that, they'll hit on 4s instead of 5s, which is a huge thing. Now, the other trick that I picked up is a whole rule about Marduk Cedrus that I didn't even realise he had until the second game I played with this army. At deployment, every unit that is within 6 inches of Marduk Cedrus or a unit or a transport he is embarked upon gain preferred enemy X, as in he picks a preferred enemy. This is before first turn is played, but after deployment. So if I'm playing against Iron Warriors, it's preferred enemy Iron Warriors. If I'm playing against Sons of Horus, it's preferred enemy Sons of Horus, etc., etc. And deployment with this army is really easy to do to get everything within 6 inches, because actually that big block in the middle, none of that's on the table to start with because it's all in these transports. So I've just got to keep 4 Contemptors and 4 other vehicles within 6 inches of this, which really isn't hard to do. And then that's the army then, all with preferred enemy, which is reroll 1s to hit and wound. So you combine that with Stormwing Tactical Marines that are hitting on 2s with their bolters, rerolling 2s. Contemptors with their new Gravis las cannons and multi-melters that hit on 2s and reroll 2s, and often wound on 2s and reroll. Hit on 2s, rerolling 1s, and they often wound on 2s, rerolling 1s. The Land Raiders are no longer twin-linked on these weapons, so the las cannons are now 2 shots as opposed to 1 shot twin-linked. So hitting on 3s with a reroll of 1s makes them much stronger as well. It's I'd love to say it was planned. It wasn't. It's a happy coincidence, but certainly in that second game I played, that preferred enemy on the army was fantastic. I'm really looking forward to playing the army. I have no idea sort of what level this is in terms of, I don't like to turn like power and meta, etc. like that, because I genuinely have no idea what else is going to turn up to the event. I should imagine there'll be a fair few Primarchs, quite a lot of Contemptors and things like that. And I think I've got an answer to most things in there. So I think it'll be a fun army to play with and a fun army to play against. Vehicles, I've certainly realised in my initial games of version 2 are very fragile now. There's a lot of things that can nobble vehicles very, very quickly. The night fighting is a big factor that you can't see beyond 24 inches, you're -1 to hit and -1 ballistic skill, etc. So it's a huge learning curve, and I think a lot of us will be at this event in the same sort of boat, not really knowing what the full rules of the game. So I'm going to get lots of things wrong. I'm sure lots of other people will do, but they're a fantastic team there, so I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the armies. At the end of the day, what I wanted was a nice cohesive force that looked good on the table, that was immediately obvious which legion they were, and I think I've achieved that. I'm really pleased with that. What else will be there, I've no idea, but I hope you like my army as much as I do. I'm really proud of what I've done here. I'm looking forward to getting it on the table and playing as many games as possible with them. I'm really intrigued to see what you think of it. I don't plan to make any changes to the army now. I'm happy with how it is. I don't really mind if there are better things or worse things to put in the army. I think this army looks nice the way it is. I'm really messing around with this panning button now. So I'm not saying I'm not open to advice. I'm just saying I'm not changing this list now. This list is locked in. But thank you for spending 20 minutes or so just listening to me waffle about my models. Any questions, please put them in the comments below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.